Mere Conservatism.
David Perry, and I'm Cleve Walker, and this is Mere Conservatism. We're so glad to see you. I had somebody comment the other day how they really appreciate your observations, David, about the state of things. They said that he comes from a pretty kind of just practical kind of approach. I said I'll tell him. You know.
I think that's the idea. We try to be very practical and regular here. We didn't go to Harvard and study politics or law or anything like that. We're normal guys.
We're not trying to sound like pundits.
No, we're looking at the world and seeing what we think about it.
We don't do this for a living. I guess is what's coming out. All right, we're not doing this for a living. We do totally different things, and yet we thank you for that remark. And I thought that was kind of cool. Well. The debate has come and gone, and you say I owe you a cup of coffee.
You do.
Why?
Because you were convinced that there were not going to be debates, that the debate wasn't going to happen. And I believed it would, and so I win. Ha ha.
The problem is that problem is I don't believe a debate happened. See, so
it's a technicality. Which you are so good at this, y'all. Cleve is so good at like getting around things and finding technicalities. So good for you, Cleve.
So
I think that there's an argument to be made that there was no debate. That's very true. It was more like an argument, a three-way argument.
Yeah, it was
really two-way. It was 2-on-1,
and
that's one thing I know we'll talk about today, but Chris Wallace was terrible.
He blew it big. And by the way, I felt if there were a debate that he would blow it.
I really thought that Chris Wallace would do a good job. I was really mistaken. This is the only thing I can think is that maybe he got flustered, which is his fault. He got flustered because of how abrasive Trump was being. Well, and that he ended up taking it out on Trump because he was responding to how abrasive Trump was being. Now, granted, Trump was being very abrasive.
That's true.
And he was, especially at the very beginning, he was really bad. But after that first 15 minutes or so, Chris Wallace was just as bad as Trump, talking over and interrupting, and every time it was just he did a terrible job. And a lot of people were trying to give Chris Wallace the benefit of the doubt, and you know he had a tough job, no doubt. Well, moderating a debate is hard, especially with Donald Trump on the debate stage. But I'm sorry, Chris Wallace did not do a good job. He was terrible.
I actually had a couple of issues with some of the questions that he had for Trump. To tell you the truth, I just think some of the questions were phrased in a way that it set it up almost in an antagonistic manner. But
not only that, but he also bailed out Joe several times by he would interrupt the president. The president would start to say something, and Chris Wallace would talk over him because it wasn't "quote unquote" on topic. But he wouldn't let Trump get any words in to mount any kind of attacks or make any kind of answers. And he was also fairly often bailing out Joe. Anytime Joe started to kind of stumble and lose himself, which happened quite a bit. Oh, we're going to move on. I'm going to stop you there. We're going to move on.
I noticed that.
He did. I mean, it was just awful. I was shocked at how badly Chris Wallace did at this debate.
In all fairness, though, to Chris, I think at many points during the debate, I think Trump bailed Biden out.
That's true. That is also true.
By not pursuing what I thought was some very strong points and allowing himself to be switched over to me that was something rather trivial in comparison.
That's true. Well, and also Trump has got to be able to let Joe talk because that's how Joe is going to
I've
hang
heard
himself.
That a billion times from other folks who are not even as smart as you, okay, has said the very same thing. They said the best thing Trump could have done in some of the instances was let this man who cannot talk and express himself, let him do it.
Because this is the problem. Joe said some awful things.
He did.
He said lots of very, very bad things. But because people just all they could notice almost was the buzzsaw going on next to him.
Right.
They didn't actually notice. This is my perception. They didn't notice how bad Joe was because of how badgering Trump was.
The president distracted from that. Now,
and the president can also get off on rabbit trails, and he's not the best at really plowing that row really, really clearly. These guys
Trump
are not great debaters.
Trump is not a good debater.
No.
And he never has been. And by the way, before I air this next piece here, Trump lost by all the polls all 3 debates he had with Hillary Clinton. So again, that goes to show you that a bad debate on the Trump's part is not necessarily a bad result on the campaign. But I wanted to hear Trump's opinion of the debate. And
oh, wow. I wonder how he grades himself.
I don't know what he might say. He was at a rally this past Wednesday in Minnesota, and he said, oh, yeah, I think I got the job done.
Last night I did what the corrupt media has refused to do. I held Joe Biden accountable for his 47 years of lies, 47 years of betrayal, and 47 years of failure.
So, in other words, he held his feet to the fire. He felt, and really just blistered the guy.
Sure, but I just he held his feet to the fire, but didn't let it burn.
I like that. Can I use that? I'm going to use it on a Facebook post.
I'm just telling you, like
you're right.
He had a few good lines, and there were actually some moments that I felt like were very, very good for Trump.
Yeah.
That were obscured by some of the other things, and the media obviously isn't going to help Trump with covering it well. But when the line about I've done more than 47 months and you've done 47 years was a good one.
When
he talked about the coronavirus response, I thought that was very, very good. He made it very clear Joe wants to shut it down.
Yes.
Joe wouldn't have saved any lives, and he would destroy the economy moving forward. Not even at the time. Moving forward, Joe wants to shut it down. He was really good on that. There were a couple of other things, but there were moments where Trump, I think, shined.
Yes.
But unfortunately, that they weren't really the takeaways.
Unfortunately, those moments were outshined by the moments he was not shining. And here's the thing about the debate. And I by the way, there were several polls that came out that said Trump won that debate. I was surprised, because I just was surprised anybody thought anybody won it. But there were some that said they felt he won it. But the thing I noticed, I don't care how well Biden did, and Biden was going to be given a good grade just for showing up and just for putting 2 sentences together. That's how low the bar was for him. Couldn't you see it, though, at times during the debate when you looked in his eye, that this man is still not all there?
Yes.
He
appeared very, very frail.
Yes.
And he said a lot of bad things. Trump was a bully, kind of. Yeah. And he also, it was just bad all the way. It was really not good for anybody.
Yeah, it played out badly for Trump because this guy was, to me, obviously, listen, he had memorized certain things. He was getting prompted. I don't care what anybody said. He was getting prompted in certain ways, and he was. This was not a man. Again, Trump was all spontaneity. Okay, more the pity. But this was not a man who can think or express himself spontaneously.
The best moments for Joe Biden were when he looked directly at the camera,
which he was told to do, by the way,
and talked to the audience. That was actually a really smart thing to do. The problem was that the only thing Joe really said during those moments was things like, he's lying to you. You know that he is. Yeah. Joe doesn't actually have anything except Orange Man bad.
Right.
That's all he's got. And so when he looked at the camera and said, "Oh, he's just lying to you. Orange Man bad." Yes, he made a connection with eye contact, so to speak, but he's not actually saying anything.
Yeah.
And the things that he did say, he was all over the place on the Green New Deal. He said terrible things about systemic racism in the country. He said terrible things about, which, by the way, systemic racism is a conspiracy theory. That's not a thing. He said terrible things about Antifa,
which is also not a thing. It's just an idea.
Well, to him, it's
right.
just an idea, which is nuts. About that. By the way, he's wrong. Of course, the idea is anarcho-socialism.
Which is bad enough.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
The organization is Antifa.
Right.
That embodies anarcho-socialism.
Yeah.
Antifa is not an idea. No. It is an organization. Again,
a very well-funded organization.
You have to distinguish between what does an idea mean, what does that word mean, and what does an organization mean.
Yeah.
They are anarcho-socialists. That is the quote-unquote idea. Antifa is the embodiment of that. They're very dangerous. Here's another thing that he did. He mixed up equality and equity. These are two, and he used them back to back as if they were the same thing. They are not the same thing. Equity means that everybody gets the same thing. Equity is socialism. We're all equally poor. Okay, Equality is we all have equal rights within the law.
Gotcha.
These are very, very, very different things. And these are things that Joe, he doesn't know the difference, but the entire left doesn't know the difference between those two things.
Well, since our wager of the cup of coffee was waived because of debate.
No, I didn't say it was waived.
Well, you've owed me a cup of coffee for quite some time that I've never gotten. So that's
I try to.
That's negated. Well, I'm going to give you another chance.
Okay.
I'm going to go on the record and say there will not be another debate. Okay. I believe
you already lost this bet.
No, but the point is, there's not going to be another debate.
Second one. Okay,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Double or nothing is kind of where you're going.
I'm saying they're going to make sure that Biden, their guy Biden, will not have to get on the stage again. He survived this.
Yeah,
he went through. He proved he could do it. So he doesn't need to have another opportunity for Trump to get a chance at him.
Well, unfortunately, I think that you're more likely to be right this time because Trump gave them an excuse.
Yes, he did.
To back out of the rest of them all they have to say is that was a terrible thing. Nobody got anything out of it. They're useless. We're not going to do. We're not going to dignify this guy with another debate.
Exactly
and I think that they
yes.
could make that argument based on what happened at the first debate. I still think it could hurt him politically not to do anymore, but.
I don't think so for this very reason. Again, he did okay in this debate as far as not appearing to be entirely not lucid. I don't think he does that again, especially if they change the debate in a way where he has to talk more. Trump actually helped him out, as I said, by doing end runs and cutting them off.
And by the way, these 2-minute segments that they did, it was terrible. The debate format
that was
bad.
The stupidest thing.
It was terrible.
I agree. So the format itself was bad, but they're getting ready to. They're wanting to change it. To say if we do have more, we got to have some different rules. And I guarantee you, all those rules will favor Biden and not being able to be confronted.
Yeah. Well, he needs to have long periods of talking. He does. Of course, you don't want to let him lie with impunity either, and that's part of the problem is that when he has lots of time and you decide not to interrupt him, he's going to tell some whoppers. But he needs rope to hang himself that he didn't get during this one. I want to mention, though, if you will remember that last time we had an incumbent president debate, he got crushed in the first debate. Mitt Romney creamed Barack Obama in their first debate. You remember? And we were feeling good.
Everybody conceded that.
We were like, that was bad.
Yeah.
Obama looked bad. He is in trouble. Yeah. And then he came back out in the second debate with a little help from the moderator, and he did much better. So I don't think it would be unlikely for Trump to do a lot better in a second debate after learning a little bit about the first one. Although
another reason they don't want to have another debate because
there's only The thing is, Biden is a front runner right now.
Yes,
like it or not, he's a front runner, and so they feel like they can play it a little safe. Of course, they did the same thing with Hillary, and it bit them.
It did,
but that's kind of how the left feels right now.
And there's this, and we'll go on to the next subject. In my opinion, the debate did not move the needle one way or the other.
Probably
for either candidate. Not very much. Not enough for them to take a risk that the next one might, as far as Biden is concerned. I think they say, yeah, we did it. We can check that off now, Biden. Now, Biden's on the road, so there's still a chance for more gaps and whatnot.
Which they will come. There will be more gaps.
Yeah. So we'll see. U.S. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who I don't often air on this particular podcast because – well, I hate to hear the guy talk, but he spoke about Amy Barrett this past Wednesday and why she poses a risk to dismantling the Affordable Care Act.
Leader McConnell mocked the idea that a far-right Supreme Court majority is a threat to the ACA, and that Judge Barrett's judicial philosophy would even play a part in that. But President Trump and Senate Republicans have made clear for years that repealing the ACA is their top priority.
Okay, so here's their tactic now, the Democrats. They know that they can try to run the Roe v. Wade things at her, but now they're also doubling down on the ACA, hoping that it isn't, because they know that nobody wants to get rid of an entitlement like this. So this is their tactic, and this is what they're hoping to tag her with and the Republicans with heading into the elections. You think that's an effective strategy for them?
I don't think so. And actually, this is a moment during the debate that I feel like Trump handled pretty well.
Okay.
When he got criticism and badgering from Chris Wallace about the health care plan. So this is, I think most people are going to be looking at this in a little bit different way.
How so?
They're going to be looking at it. People that care about the court probably have decided already who they're going to vote for. If you really care about Amy Coney Barrett, you're probably either a conservative who wants to see more conservatives or constructionalists on the court, or you're a liberal who is scared of that kind of thing. And I just don't think that this is going to be very effective. Notice they're not doing the Roe v. Wade thing very much.
Not very much.
They're really doing the Affordable Care Act thing. And I think the reason is because abortion is not popular, no matter what anybody tells you.
The polls show that.
The polls show that the abortion is not popular. Not only that, but it's really far-fetched to think that Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned, even if Amy Coney Barrett is on the court.
Right.
It's probably not going to happen. The ACA thing, they think, is something that is more, they could maybe be more convincing that is actually an issue. But this kind of thing against her, I don't think is going to matter. It's certainly not going to keep her from being confirmed.
But now let's understand something. They're not only accusing Amy of being a threat, but the Republicans in general are what they say are planning to get rid of Obamacare, and so they're hoping, I think, simply to galvanize their base, people who didn't do as bad as a lot of folks who lost their health care because they couldn't afford the premiums of Obamacare. That's not their base, okay?
Yeah.
So they're hoping that their base will be further galvanized to show up because they had issues with that in the last election. So this is, they're hanging a hat on, hey, they're out to destroy Obamacare. I say, hey, I love that.
The judicial thing is really a turnout.
Yeah.
It's a turnout thing. It's really all it is, because there's not that much Democrats can do to stop the actual seating of Barrett. They can't do that much about that. It's
pretty much a done deal.
The only thing they can do is fundraise on it. Well, I mean, she still has to pass the voting process.
Yes,
so it's possible that she won't get through, but unlikely. She probably will.
Yeah, they got the votes.
It's a fundraising thing and something to drive turnout, and so they have to. Fear is a powerful motivator. So they have to make people think that it's a big issue.
What I noticed they've done is backed off, and I think they're going to go back on the attack on this. They backed off for a little bit, the religious litmus test that they want to put on her, talking about the Democrats.
Well,
they backed off a little bit, but they're going to come back with that again because, well, that's the way they are. And the reason I think that's important is because, again, our side, the conservative side, particularly the faith-based part of the conservative side, that's going to spur us on even more if we see them doing that.
Well, the smart Democrats will stay away from that, but there's a lot of the left.
They can't help themselves.
Not Democrats,
right.
But the left. They're not going to be able to hate that so much. They're not going to be able to lay off that. So that will be an issue. And I agree. I mean, I think maybe the judge thing might pick back up when the hearings start. That's going to happen in a couple weeks.
Right.
It may be pretty mild until then. But when it's back in the news, as far as it's when it's current, it's going to be quite a story. And I do think that I can't help but think that Democrats just won't be able to help themselves. They're going to have to demonize her.
Yeah.
If they can keep from doing that, then they can make it a non-issue. But I just don't think they're going to be able to keep from doing that.
And again, when that happens, and it will happen, it further galvanizes our side and hopefully convinces any evangelicals hesitant about being involved in politics. I hope they will see the attitude that side has towards people of faith. And when I say people of faith, not people who have a faith, but actually practice their faith, the Christian faith. That's the problem they have, okay? If you're a professing Christian and basically you don't do anything like with it, you're no problem.
Yeah.
But an Amy Barrett who actually believes it, wow. Yeah.
It's weird because the same people that will call Joe Biden a devout Catholic as a superlative to boost him will criticize Amy Coney Barrett for being Orthodox, which means basically that she just is a faithful Catholic.
Right.
And you and I are not Catholics.
Yeah.
We're evangelicals.
We're Protestants, yeah.
Yeah, but it's faith that's important. It's faith in Christ that is important, and so that's important to me. And it's important to me how people who follow Christ are treated, and the way that they are perceived by the people who I'm going to vote for. And it's funny. The left, they want to have it both ways. They want to act like being a devout Catholic is a good thing, but not if you're Amy Coney Barrett.
You got it.
They also want
you're a good Catholic if you're their kind of Catholic. That's what.
Yeah, which means you're denied communion and
right.
you're okay with abortion and things like that. They also want to act like Trump secretly hates religious people. Have you noticed this coming up? They got the thing about the military.
I noticed.
But Trump secretly hates the military.
Yes,
there's no evidence for it. Yet Joe Biden can call them bleeping bleeps,
right?
And nobody cares.
Not a
about
word.
That.
Not a word.
That doesn't get mentioned at all. And do you really believe that Donald Trump, the guy who's nominating Amy Coney Barrett for the Supreme Court, hates religious people?
That's a great point.
They want us to believe that Donald Trump hates religious people when you see how the Democrats behave, right?
I had somebody come at me with that, though, saying, see, you guys, Trump is just pandering to you guys. He's just pandering. I said, well, even if that's just the case, I said, it's nice to know that someone considers us worth pandering to, because we certainly didn't have that kind of influence or impact on the Obama for all 8 years. So
the left hates us. They hate us.
So they make their case for that.
And they do also, let me say this,
okay,
too. They do not understand people like us at all. They will post a picture of the prayer walk that happened in Washington with Franklin Graham, and they'll put on the caption that these are a bunch of Franklin Graham followers.
Yeah.
They don't understand us.
No, you're right.
They think that these are people that want a theocracy. They want their religion not litigated, but legislated.
Yes.
They don't understand us, Cleve, because they think it's impossible for us to have deeply held religious beliefs about God and not force it on other people.
And I want our side to understand what you just said. That is why they're not just mildly displeased with us. They literally despise evangelicals who are serious about the faith. I mean, it's a visceral hatred on their part.
And I said this last week, and I'll say it again. It's because that they only do force. They force other people to do things.
Yeah.
And so they think that that's the only way to do it. So they look at religious people and think that the religious people are going to force their religion on other folks, because all they understand is force.
Yeah.
That's all they understand is government force and coercion. And that's not the way we think and the way we operate. They don't get us.
Trump's best line in any of his speeches has always been, government is not our God.
That's true.
And I love that, because that's what they want. Real quickly, Republican lawmakers grilled former FBI Director James Comey about his oversight of the Trump-Russia investigation this past weekend. Comey admitted that the FBI's process for conducting surveillance on former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page was, quote, sloppy and, quote, embarrassing. He said he would not have certified the surveillance had he known what he knows now about the applications the FBI submitted to eavesdrop on Page. Anyway, Senate Judiciary Chairman Senator Lindsey Graham pressed Comey about something else, the newly released Russian intelligence assessment that says Hillary Clinton approved an effort to, quote, stir up scandal by trying to connect then-candidate Trump to the Russian hacking of the Democrats' National Committee in 2016. Here's that exchange.
You say you had a duty to look at allegations about the Trump campaign being involved with the Russians. You've got a letter now from Radcliffe saying that they intercepted information about an effort in July where Hillary Clinton approved an effort to link Trump to Russia, the mob. Did you have an investigation to look and see if whether that was true?
I can't answer that. I've read Mr. Radcliffe's letter, which frankly I have trouble understanding.
Okay.
Why? Is it in Spanish or something? So a couple things.
Okay.
First of all, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Yes.
Okay. Comey knew exactly what he was doing here. Hillary Clinton, at this point, remember, is not in government.
Right.
She is a private citizen. She is the former Secretary of State.
And I praise God for that every day. But go ahead.
She's the former Secretary of State. So explain to me how Hillary Clinton, a private citizen running for president, approves anything the FBI does.
Good point. No, that's an excellent point.
What in the world? She did what? How is she involved whatsoever in this? They knew that the source was a Russian agent.
Right.
They knew this thing was there's.
They also knew the Democratic committee paid for the surveillance, the dossier from Steele and things of that nature. So here's my point. I only bring this up as kind of like an afterthought. Is this? I actually believe there's going to be some accountability for some people involved in this effort to overthrow and change the election results, or during the campaign to undermine his campaign. I actually, for the first time, believe it's going to happen. I believe it's going to happen. Comey is not going to get away. Somebody's going to be thrown under the bus here, and I believe Comey will be one of them. Strzok, Page, the other guy, I think they're going to finally get it, and they have to, because we cannot let what turned out to be a criminal effort using the power of our own government to, again, attack an election, a duly elected president.
And again, I wish that I could understand why in the world Hillary had any kind of say about what the FBI did.
She shouldn't have. I mean, there's no justification.
Do you realize how bad it is that somebody? One reason that people hate her is because she's like the emperor. Mm-hmm. You know, the Clintons are like the emperor in Star Wars.
She'd be an empress,
the evil, head of everything that kind of is moving chess pieces and whatever. This again, at this point, she is not even a government official whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Why?
Yeah.
Does she have any say on this? This is mind blowing.
It's got to be answered for, and I believe that Bill Barr is the man to get it. I believe it won't be before the election, but I think afterwards. This is another reason why, by the way, they want to win this election so badly. It's really going to hurt the Democrats after the fact if they don't stop this probe into all that went on.
It's rough. It's ugly, and hopefully we get to the bottom of it. I really hope Trump can find a way to win this election so that all this stuff doesn't get stopped dead in its tracks.
I think he will. And
you still think he's going to win?
Yes, I do. I think the only way that they win is to get away with mail balloting and that kind of thing, and I think at this point they will. I got hope. You do too. David Perry, I'm Cleve Walker. Thank you for joining us for Mere Conservatism. And if you want to go through all this dialogue again, we got it for you.
Yeah, check it out on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
And you can subscribe and leave a comment. We really appreciate that. Also on Facebook,
yep.
You can listen to the podcast. I'll post it there as well as YouTube.
And from us to you, have a great day. Stay at peace. It's going to be okay.